The chosen one. You don't have a biological father. You are not subject to the same regulations as regular people. Your birth is a miraculous event that cannot be described by science and cannot be limited to the soul. You are no coincidence. You are the living embodiment of a plan, destiny, or divine call. You are bound not by biological connections, but by the force of destiny. While they are confined by the past, you are shaping the future. They are surrounded by regular boundaries. You have endless options in the cosmos. Before you, you are the carrier of a will from the stars, rather than an ordinary family line. No institution, tradition, or form can define you. You've come not to be defined, but to create new definitions. What goes through your veins is not a limiting notion of humanity. It is the mirror of heavenly wisdom, cosmic energy, and incomparable strength bestowed to you from eternity. That is why some will seek to stop you. Those that degrade you, those who don't get you, those who attempt to stop you. But keep in mind that your presence is intended to help others transcend their limitations. Now ask yourself, will you continue to live in those old modes? Or will you begin crafting your own legend? Because the moment has arrived. Awaken the boundless power inside you and express your destiny in the comments section right now. Your ancestry is unclear since you were born into a calling rather than a lineage. Like a strong oak that can withstand even the most violent storm, you remained uncertain. And when the winds of truth ripped through the false foundations of those who wanted to silence you, they believed they could bury the seeds of falsehood so deeply that no light would ever reach them. However, the roots of justice are deeper, and when the time comes for judgment, no plan can escape the harvest. You remained unwavering. As news came in about the disintegration of the same group that previously attempted to denigrate your gift of insight, the same circle that once rejected your knowledge as unstable now found itself entangled in a trap of its own design, while you concentrated on healing and recovering your mission. Their covert machinations were revealed, not by your hand, but by the weight of their own depravity. Promises based on meaningless words. Power is founded in delusion. Sacred truths corrupted for personal advantage. Everything is now laid exposed. This was not an accident. This was delicious. Order is in action. The cosmos does not allow the truth to be concealed forever. As you moved into clarity and tranquility, the earth underneath you started to fracture. The walls they created to defend themselves have now become a prism. And when the dust settles, you are entire, unhurt, and rising. The morning air is silent, a gentle affirmation that you have risen above it all, relaxed and unshaken. You go about your day. When the first message comes, an old friend responds. Have you heard? The group is being investigated. Another follows. Everything is being unveiled. The tide has turned. Individuals who previously rejected the repercussions now seek for refuge from the storm they created. You don't celebrate. You merely witness each new insight. You stay where you belong, in a place of freedom, separated from their pandemonium. You sanitize your surroundings. Take a deep breath and keep moving ahead. This is not your struggle to fight. This is the unavoidable outcome of decisions taken in the dark. They thought their secrets were secure, that the shadows they traveled through will always protect them. However, dishonesty is never a permanent haven, no matter how deeply they buried their crimes. The waves of truth have uncovered them. They repressed voices, altered narratives, and manipulated situations, assuming they were untouchable. However, as once said, the concealed will always come to light. Now, the same foundations on which they depended have cracked under them. You look at your phone for more texts. People are panicking. They should not have underestimated you. The conclusion was inevitable. No kingdom founded on falsehood can endure the test of time. For years, they built a frail illusion of authority, feasting on control and creating facades of influence. They disregarded integrity as a flaw, mocked your warnings, and concluded they were without effect. But what they thought for invincibility was only borrowed time. The barriers they created to keep themselves at the top have now turned into cages, confining them within. Lawsuits, public exposure. A secretive kingdom once existed, now falling beneath the weight of inescapable reality. Meanwhile, You drink your tea with peaceful confidence. You are never a part of their game. You walked away, and now the game's finished. This isn't revenge. It represents the restoration of equilibrium. Everything happens without your intervention. The edifice they clung to was always doomed to collapse. Lies do not fortify. They undermine the bargains they made. They took advantage of people's confidence. The stories they spun. Each thread is now unraveling in broad view. They previously thought they were fate's architects, deciding who would rise and who would fall. They are now the ones looking for an escape. Their illusions were destroyed by the same powers they used against others. Their previous techniques provide no sanctuary. The foundation they stood on has crumbled under them. If you have an overflow of heavenly love in your heart, now is the moment to express it. You may help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and donating $200 or more. This wonderful gift will affect not just your life, but also the souls of countless others. Each of you has a holy position in God's great purpose via this platform, and your giving will provide fruit for our prayers. Act now. Share your benefits to honor His kingdom. You were meant to do much bigger things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. In boardrooms and closed-door sessions, desperation grows. Fix this one or we'll be exposed. Another whisper. There are alliances and fractures. Their confidence fades to terror. They were never as strong as they claimed to be. They flourished solely in the stillness of those who were too exhausted to fight back. However, no fortification can defy the might of divine timing. The messages continue. Frozen accounts. Contracts were broken. Everything is coming apart. The same influence that formerly served as a shield has now failed them. No amount of money can change the reality. No plan can reverse what has already occurred. Like a torrent of heavenly grace, pushing its way across difficult, unforgiving terrain. Your trip moves with a subtle but irresistible force. When you stood back, those who had formerly encircled you thought they had won, dismissing your leaving as a show of weakness. But let me tell you, my friend, that in the larger scheme of things, what looks to be a retreat is often the first step toward a wonderful new beginning. Today, as I stand before you in spirit, I state unequivocally that the forces of truth and divine purpose are working in your favor. They believed they had won when you departed from their circle, ridiculing your decision as a weakness, as if your absence could be measured by the hollow echo of their contempt. Now, in boardrooms and quiet meetings alike, those folks are locked in a tense environment. Their voices, which previously commanded respect and filled hearts with trust, now shake as if the earth under them has changed into a place where only truth rules. Names that were previously pronounced with awe and respect are now spoken with caution, indicating that the entire system they constructed on manipulation and deception is collapsing around them. The structures that formerly protected them from responsibility have become as vulnerable as glass in the hands of destiny. Friends, the truth is a powerful force that cannot be suppressed or disguised in a society where shortcuts and borrowed legitimacy have already paved the path for false civilizations. The true strength of perseverance serves as a light of hope. Consider the steady illumination of a lighthouse guiding lost ships over wild seas, a metaphor of perseverance that refuses to be diminished by the storms of deception. That lighthouse represents your spirit, and its light glows brilliantly, despite the storms of manipulation. The entire fabric of your character, stitched with strands of persistence and integrity, stays intact, even while those who wanted to control your fate saw their own plans unravel like badly spun yarn. Let's be clear. The triumph of those who attempted to constrain you was constructed on shaky foundations, a patchwork of shortcuts, and a superstructure of borrowed authority that was due to fall. Their fleeting victories were nothing more than fantasies. When faced with the immovable force of truth, a house of cards is certain to collapse, and it has, as the reality of their deceptions is laid naked in front of the eyes of a world that increasingly values authenticity above pretend. You have become a live example of how genuine triumph is judged not by the praise of those who manipulate, but by the inner strength that sees you through every challenge. Consider the simple reality that every problem in life, no matter how daunting it seems, is a chance for development and regeneration. Your path is defined by a succession of victorious comebacks, much like the sun rising after the darkest night. Those who formerly reveled in your failures now watch in bewilderment as the entire basis of their authority falls under the weight of their own wrongdoing. It's as if the balances of justice have finally been balanced, restoring order in an unavoidable but awe-inspiring way. Your leaving was not a retreat, but rather the preparation to an astonishing return, a moment when the light of truth pierced through the shadows of deception. Look around, and you'll see the shift taking place in the quiet corners of boardrooms and the hushed tones of late-night chats. The air is dense with the distinct smell of punishment. Those who formerly had unfettered confidence now talk in whispers. Their power is weakened by the steady march of justice. The same system they used to advance themselves now exposes their every blunder, and the authority they once wielded so easily has turned against them. Their techniques, which were earlier hidden under the illusion of wisdom and leadership, are now exposed by the unrelenting light of sincerity. You were never in need of their fraudulent assistance. They depended on your strength and honesty to justify their own ill-conceived goals. There is a heavenly rhythm at work, a constant cadence that rewards those who continue and stay true to themselves through every setback and every closed door. There was a secret gift waiting to be uncovered. Every moment of agony was followed by a moment of rejuvenation. For each act of treachery, a lesson about fortitude. You've survived stormy years that many would have considered insurmountable. And in doing so, you have risen not as a victim of fate, but as a beacon of hope for all those who have ever been marginalized by unscrupulous forces. The trip you took, however difficult, was a necessary furnace for refining your soul and preparing you for the benefits that were always supposed to come your way. My dear buddy, let me remind you that you are never supposed to be limited by the limiting assumptions of others who do not see your value. You have chosen a real path, one based on unshakable confidence in the universe's promise. Even those who strove to dull your light are now captivated by the darkness they produced. You continue to shine with the brightness of a soul that understands its genuine purpose. Their world, constructed on fleeting illusions and temporary benefits, is collapsing. In its stead, a new order of reality is gaining hold. This is not about vengeance or retaliation. It is about restoring what was always intended to be: the power of endurance. The power of a soul grounded in spiritual purpose has triumphed against the fleeting manipulations of falsehood. As you go on, remember that every struggle you've overcome has been a stepping stone to the prosperous future that awaits you. Every false charge, every shred of uncertainty, has only served to strengthen your determination and prepare you for a destiny as limitless as the sky. The success you are seeing today is not a lucky break, but the unavoidable result of a life lived with unwavering devotion to truth and virtue. Your experience serves as a poignant reminder that the true measure of success is not the superficial acclaim of those who manipulate, but the deep, profound confidence that comes from living a life in alignment with divine purpose. A distinct air of anxiety pervades the corridors of authority, where your adversaries previously ruled. Their voices, once booming with ruler confidence, have faded into uncertain whispers, as if each syllable is a tremor heralding the collapse of their carefully constructed world. The very foundations on which they relied, the networks of influence, the mechanisms of control, are no longer capable of shielding them from the consequences of their actions. Instead, they are forced to face the fact that their successes were transitory as shadows at sunset, and their power has been nullified by the inexorable force of truth. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace come upon you today. I'm here to remind you of a fundamental fact. Our existence is based on God's divine purpose and is unaffected by worldly worries. According to the Bible, everything is done with faith will be returned to God with great blessing. Luke, our roots, like those of the huge oak tree, are firmly entrenched in God's universal truth. His power secures every stride and every stance we take. And now you have the chance to be a part of that gift. when you utilize the special thank you button to contribute $200. This action will bring you 100-fold and plenty. I come before you not as a detached spectator, but as someone who participates in the great delight of your triumph. For you see, the actual measure of a person is established not by the views of those who strive to keep you back, but by your tenacity in the face of adversity. You have turned what others saw as a weakness into a foundation of strength, a source of encouragement for anybody who has ever felt neglected or undervalued. The power that formerly seemed to belong to your opponents now belongs to you. An heritage of faith, optimism, and steadfast devotion to the truth. Let this serve as a witness to the lasting power of justice in a culture that often celebrates the superficial and transitory. You've chosen a route that requires depth, honesty, and steadfast faith. Your path demonstrates that when you stand in the light of truth, no power of evil can overcome you. The essence of your existence, fostered by persistence and led by a heavenly hand, is an unstoppable force. It serves as a reminder to everyone that the strength of endurance is about more than just surviving life's hardships. It is also about prospering in the face of them. So, while you continue on this journey, keep your head up and your heart full of appreciation for each lesson you learn along the way. For every closed door, every whispered word of doubt opens a new, larger door. There is a strong validation of your value. The cosmos, in its infinite wisdom, has always conspired for your benefit, even when the indicators were unclear. And now, as the remains of a disintegrating society fade into oblivion, the light of a new dawn shines on your destiny. A daybreak that signals not only the restoration of what has been lost, but also the fulfillment of a promise given to you from the start. My dear buddy, do you recall this? The difficulties you have faced were never intended to break you, but rather to shape you into the exceptional person you are today. In every failure, every moment of despair, the germ of a fresh beginning was planted. And now that seed has grown into a garden of overflowing benefits, demonstrating the power of tenacity, faith, and the indisputable reality that you are destined for greatness. Allow my words to resonate with your spirit as I talk to you right now, like the soft strum of a well-loved one. Feel the warmth of promise in the air around you, a vow that no plot, no matter how complex, can ever defeat the unwavering power of a spirit rooted in divine truth. It serves as a reminder that the light that emanates from inside is what defines you, not the deeds of those who wanted to dominate you. A glow that becomes brighter with each task mastered. Today, when you observe the unraveling of those who previously sought to tie you, remember that your path is a real example of how the balances of justice eventually balance themselves. Their transitory influence, founded on deceit and phony plaudits, is fading like mist in the early light. And in its place, the constant, unbroken brightness of your truth serves as a beacon to anybody who has ever questioned their own potential. For you have not only withstood the storm, but you have emerged with commendable and inspiring courage, whispering to the world that nothing can dull the brightness of a soul selected by divine design. Allow your heart to expand with the understanding that every adversity you faced was a divine appointment, a time designed for your ultimate victory. Each challenge was a stepping stone. Each closed door marks the beginning of an even larger opening. And, as you take each step forward, remember that you have a strength inside you that no earthly force can ever take away. A force born of truth, developed by persistence, and destined to provide an abundance of gifts beyond measure. So, with confidence, rise up and let your soul to fly like an eagle on the wind, free of the weight of those who formerly sought to keep you down. Their time is past, and your age of victory has begun. Accept this new chapter with gratitude, knowing that every moment of agony has brought you to this point of bright triumph. Your destiny, inscribed in the stars and decreed by a power larger than all, unfolds with each new daybreak, bringing fresh hope, renewed strength, and the unflinching promise that you are precisely where you should be. May you always walk in the light of truth. Your heart is directed by the timeless beat of divine grace. and your journey is lighted by the promise of a future full of love, joy, and boundless blessings. Remember, you were never intended to live in the shadows of people who did not recognize your value. Instead, you were created to shine brightly. A real illustration of how the power of perseverance can turn every setback into a victorious stride toward the full life you were meant to have. They laughed with you, stood by you, and offered words of support. But under the surface, they were placing traps in areas you couldn't see. They poured doubt into the ears of people who believed in you, turned your wins into burdens, and positioned themselves as friends while covertly striving to ensure you never got too far ahead. And for a while, they were successful. Doors closed unexpectedly, and seemingly definite pathways disappeared. And those who once hailed your presence became away. You questioned yourself, wondering if you were dreaming things, but you weren't. The curtain is lifting. A former co-worker recognizes their role in your misfortunes. An old friend reaches out and confesses, "I didn't realize it at the time, but they were actively working against you." The unseen hands that pull the strings are now revealed. Their meticulously planned strategies are crumbling before them. What they formerly held is slipping through their fingers, and the power they possessed over your name has crumbled. The truth moves on its own. No words are required from you. The veneer they constructed is disintegrating, and their legitimacy is eroding, severing their grasp on your story. They felt they could control your destiny, influence events, and determine how far you could go. They worked behind the scenes, wielding authority not to elevate, but to crush every milestone within your grasp. They struggled to shove just beyond of reach. Every route is designed for you. They attempted to blockade. For a time, it seemed that they had succeeded. Your effort was disregarded. Your successes were ignored, and your development was slowed by forces you couldn't identify. However, what belonged to you was never fully gone, and what was formerly kept back is now being fully restored. The same chances they denied are reappearing. The recognition they denied is coming back stronger. The doors they attempted to lock are being unlocked by forces beyond their control. There is no need to pursue what was always intended for you. The triumph, restoration, and rewards for your effort. They are making their way back to your hands. A previously rejected offer reappears suddenly. A job that previously neglected you is now seeking your skills. And chance that seemed to be gone forever reappears, bigger and better than before. Because, despite their efforts, they never had the last word. They mistaken their momentary influence for complete rule, believing that they might decide your destiny. However, destiny does not yield to trickery. Even when they took away your wealth, even when they shut the door in your face, even when they attempted to remove your existence, they couldn't take away your mission. What was put within you stayed intact, waiting for the appropriate opportunity to emerge. And the season has here. The same individuals who attempted to degrade you must now see your rise. Not because you wanted retribution, but because the foundation you constructed was never based on them. This is a time to honor individuals who have traveled the quiet path of resilience, who see beyond illusion and stay strong in a society that often attempts to drive them into conformity. They don't follow. They lead not by strength, but through presence, whilst others follow established pathways. They create new paths, navigating unknown hurdles. Unspoken conflicts persist. This voyage is not for the faint of heart, but for those who comprehend its significance. It's an extraordinary call. Now is the moment to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. With a $100 gift or more, you may help him carry out his plan and become a part of this holy mission. Every contribution symbolizes God's generosity, and I think it will return to you enormously, far above your expectations. Remember that his protection and blessings are with you at all times, and with each gift, you become a part of his divine plan. You are a powerful, dazzling entity, as solid as the massive rock that saw God's marvels. Feel the rewards of your kindness in your spirit, and light up the world with confidence and bravery. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord lead you. There are no more disguises for deceit. No illusions remain to obscure the reality in this region beyond pretense. Kindred souls come together not to fit in, but to awaken, to convert, to overcome limitations. A movement develops not based on numbers, but on desire. For those who search, the route is clear. Those that hesitate will be ready when the time comes. But for those who are aware, it has already started. A homage to those who have never wavered, not for praise or affirmation, but because it's who they were meant to be. Acknowledgement finds them, not because they seek it, but because their light was never intended to be concealed. Their art is spoken about in locations where they have never been. Their presence is reported in circles where they were never invited to participate. Their influence extends farther than they could have dreamed. And as their journey progresses, those who previously attempted to dominate the narrative find themselves on the periphery, striving to hang onto a tale that was never theirs to tell.